Hi, my name is Melissa. The story is called Mama Bear, and it involves a pair of shoes. This story started about 16 years ago and kind of culminated this past week. And those of you that know me know I have 3 boys. And when my middle one was born, he captured my heart. And he is me if I was ever reborn. In a 16-year-old boy, that is him. And he is me. I see my reflection in him. Our sense of humors are the same. We write very similar. We have similar sleep patterns. Our only difference is he's 6'1" and weighs 135 pounds and is desperate to gain weight, and I'm 5'10", not 135 pounds, and desperate to be 135 pounds. So this boy is a boy who never talked. He had an older brother, and everybody said, he doesn't need to talk. His brother's talking for him. There's nothing wrong with him. Just leave him alone. He'll talk. And he never talked, and he would slap my leg and point to things. So I knew in his mind, he knew what he wanted, but he couldn't speak. And I stopped listening to my friends, and I took him to the doctor, and I said, there's something wrong with him. And they said, you're right, Mom, there is something wrong with him. He has something, and he cannot stick his tongue out, and it's very difficult to talk if you can't stick your tongue out. So I went through years of speech therapy with this boy and paid thousands of dollars to get him to be able to speak. And he spoke. He finally started speaking without being shy and without being afraid when he was in 4th grade. And he has overcome that obstacle and figured out ways to be himself and figure out who he is. And this past summer, he was in his first musical where he got on stage and sang in front of hundreds of people and spoke on his own in front of hundreds of people. And he overcame that, and I watched that, and I watched myself and him overcome an obstacle. And then 2 weekends ago, we were visiting my oldest son at college, and my middle son could not keep any food down. And he was sick, and he was sleeping, and I'm like, there's something wrong with him. And I looked at my husband as we're coming home, and I said, I'm taking him to the emergency room as soon as we get home. There's something wrong with him. Oh no, he's just not feeling well, he's tired, blah, blah, whatever. You know, I had all those voices in my head, he's fine, you're being overreactive. I'm like, no, I have got to hear from a doctor that there's nothing wrong with him, because I think there is something wrong with him, and I have to trust that inside of here. And because that's a fear. I can't be wrong. You know, I have to be right. There's something wrong with him, and as much as I don't want anything to be wrong with him, I had to go and find out what was wrong with him. So we get home at 10 o'clock. I literally go to the bathroom, and we drive up to the emergency room. And we're sitting there and waiting. We finally get in. The doctor starts running tests, and, you know, all of a sudden they draw like 8 vials of blood, and they want to do a chest x-ray. They want a urine sample, and I'm like looking at him. I'm like, okay, this is kind of getting serious. This is not mono. This is not an eating disorder. This is something serious. And he mentioned something to me, and it stuck with me. And thank you, Sanford, for having internet. And thank you, because I carry an iPad with me. I started Wikipediaing the words that the doctor's talking to me, and I'm like, this sucks. This is something you don't want to have. And I proceed to make doctor's appointments the following week, and it just gets worse and worse and worse. And yeah, we're grateful. He doesn't have cancer. He doesn't have, you know, something that's going to kill him, but he has something that's going to be with him for the rest of his life. And this is the first time in my life, and I've had very close people that have been sick. My grandmother and I were very close, and I felt it when she died. My dad has had a cancer scare. My very best friend from kindergarten had a cancer scare. This is different. This is different when this is your soul looking at you, and they're sick, and they're faced with something that they're going to have for the rest of their life. That is a fear that I have never experienced in my life. That is a fear where I have wanted to take what the doctor said he has, and I want that. I will live with it. You are a 16-year-old boy. You should not have to deal with this. And as the doctor's talking about the side effects of the drugs that he has to go on, and says to him, well, if you're ever going to have children, you'll have to go off this drugs, and it's going to come back, and you're going to be in pain. And, he's 16. He doesn't think about that kind of stuff. And when the doctor says, well, one of the drug therapies, it's going to have an increased risk of malignancy in your lymph nodes. He doesn't get that. And my son looks at me and says, Mom, why are you freaking out? And my husband looks at me. Clearly, he sees that I'm freaking out. And my husband looks at my son and says, she's not freaking out. She's just fine. Don't worry about her. Because what you see here, he never gets to see. Because that fear, he doesn't need to see. Because if I'm freaked out, he knows there's something to be scared of. But what I do is I put on a pair of shoes like that. And when I'm wearing shoes like that, people know, don't fucking mess with me. Because when I walk in, you are going to pay attention to me. Because when I walk into a doctor's office and a nurse or receptionist looks at me, guess what they see first? They see my pair of kick-ass shoes. And they know she means business. Thank you.